Good evening. I'm Dr. Hallmark, and it's my pleasure to be the MC for tonight's program. We will be honoring 11 students from schools in the district who will each receive a Susan B. Anthony Award for leadership, community service, and academic achievement. So I'm really pleased to be emceeing that tonight. Since I'll be introducing the staff who will give us a little bit more information about each student, I'll keep my remarks brief. But one thing I wanted to say was that President Jimmy Carter, who was the president who kicked off Women's History Week back in 1980, quoted this when he proclaimed this week. Hi, Van. Too often, the women were unsung, and sometimes their contributions went unnoticed. But the achievements, leadership, courage, strength, and love of the women who built America was as vital as that of the men whose names we know so well. I just wanted to add, he was present when I was in high school, so I remember him. Anyway, let's move on to, I'm going to introduce President White, if you'd like to step up here.
How's everybody doing?
Thanks, everyone.
What? How's everybody doing?
Great.
Seems like Liz, you're doing a great job. Yeah, great would be better. I realize that it seems in this country everybody's got a month, but women don't. Women have 12 months. And it's more than just 12 months as reflected in history books. It's 12 months of committing to their families, society, and most importantly, government, like education. You know, as an African American, I think a lot about the months that certain groups get, like we get Black History Month. But again, I don't think about it as 30, 31 days. I think about the 9 months. My mother suffered through 7 children. I think about the years that Susan B. Anthony and others fought for the rights of women. So it's really unfair, principally unfair, to delegate any group, but especially women, to 1 month worth of recognition. And to you out there that think you can and should, you are sorely mistaken. Please dedicate your life, your year, to the cause of women, because it is indeed the cause of mankind. God bless you.
And now I'd like to call Superintendent Simmons up.
Good evening, everyone. It is my pleasure to introduce all of you, especially our award recipients this evening, to this ceremony where we can honor you for one evening. And in terms of your accomplishments, I look forward to hearing about all of them. And I'll just say, I've had a long career in public education. Some would say too long. But I remember I'm going to say about 20 years ago when I was involved in many conversations at board meetings. This was out in Buffalo, and it was a concern that our young women were not accessing enough advanced placement courses and other advanced math courses, and not seeking those opportunities, or for whatever reason felt they shouldn't or couldn't participate in those. And it was a long conversation. And then toward the end of my career in the same district, the board conversation was noticing and remarking on the valedictorians and salutatorians over the past several years and how it had gone from almost all young men to almost all young women. And I said, all right, that's there. You know, there's no that glass ceiling has been shattered. So this evening, I look forward to hearing about your accomplishments, and at the same time, encourage you to keep going. There's no end to what you can accomplish. you already have accomplished. Just to be here this evening and being honored, I look forward to hearing why and how, and just encourage you to continue to achieve. And we hope to hear wonderful things about our Rochester grads and what you go out and do. So welcome.
We have a couple of special guests, and who I'd like to call up to the podium is Deborah Hughes, and she's the executive director of the Susan B. Anthony House. So come on up, Deborah.
One of the best parts of my job is getting to come here to celebrate the Susan B. Anthony Award. Have you all registered to vote? If you're not yet eligible, will you be registering to vote as soon as you possibly can? That's what Susan B. Anthony would want from us the most. Susan B. Anthony was what we called a reformer. And the concept of what's a reformer, that's when someone sees something that's not right, that's not fair, that's not just, and they want to change it, they're a reformer. Susan B. Anthony called herself a reformer. Her good friend Frederick Douglass called himself a reformer. We're honoring 11 women today because of the amazing work and the leadership that people have already identified in you. I want to tell you a little bit about Susan B. Anthony that you may or may not know. When she was born, our country was less than 50 years old. It was not the greatest place for women. In fact, when she was 11 years old, she wanted to learn how to do long division. And her teacher wouldn't teach her math because they thought if a girl exercised this organ, she might compromise other organs for her later purpose in life. Her father actually hired a private tutor who would teach his girls anything that they wanted to learn about. In her time, there was really only one occupation that was open to a woman, and that was the occupation of teaching. But even here in Rochester, you can look in the directory from the city in that time. A male teacher was paid 4 times more than a female teacher, despite how much qualification or experience they would have. Her first job, she earned $2.50 a week, plus she got board, meaning that she was fed and housed because you could only be a female teacher if you were single. You couldn't do it once you were married. And you would be expected to live with someone, one of the board members from the school district. You would teach during the day, and then in the evening they had the opportunity to have you there as child care and housekeeper and to attend to anything that was required of the house. Once you got married, you had to quit teaching. Now, just so you know, that was actually still true when I was a little girl in many places. So Susan B. Anthony had this opportunity to earn a living for herself as long as she could. And one of the things that she said was that every woman deserved a home of her own and every woman deserved a purse of her own. Now, that was not a fashion statement. She didn't mean that every woman should have a great-looking purse that she could hold on her arm. In Susan B. Anthony's time when she was a child, if you were married, you couldn't open a bank account in your name. Your husband could open a bank account. If you had a job, you had to hand over all of your wages to your husband. You couldn't enter into a contract. So she didn't have cars, but she couldn't have bought one if she wanted to. She couldn't have paid the utility bill or set up the internet if they had had it back then. A woman didn't have that right. When she traveled all the way across the country as a speaker, first she traveled to speak against slavery and to speak for abolition, but then she spoke for women's rights. If she rode on the stagecoach and they stopped, the men could go in to the tavern or to the hotel, but the women had to stay on the stagecoach. If she was traveling for 2 days, she'd have had to pack all her food and take it with her on the stagecoach. It was a very, very different world. but she felt that there was a vision in our Declaration of Independence that was so amazing and profound that we could be of the people, by the people, and for the people. And she knew already, she said, well, it's supposed to be of the people, but as a woman, I'm a person, but I can't vote, and I have many things I can't do to participate. As many people with different languages, different nationalities, for people who were enslaved, who were also denied the opportunity to participate in society, she believed that we would only be able to live into that vision for democracy, to be a country of the people, by the people, for the people, when every single human being in our society had an opportunity to participate by voting and being a part of society. So she spent her entire lifetime working for women to get the right to vote. We celebrate her in Women's History Month, and sometimes people say, oh yeah, she was all about women's rights. She was all about women's rights, but she was all about human rights. Once when a reporter said to her, well, it was all about women, getting women the right to vote. And she said, well, no, I believe in universal suffrage. I believe everyone should be able to vote. But if you could change the world for half the population, why not just start there? So she advocated for that change. And from the time when she was in her 50s all the way till the time when she died when she was 86 years old, all of her time was spent advocating, first to get people to actually believe that some of those people who didn't have the right to vote were intelligent, capable, amazing citizens who could offer something to the community, who could bring something that would make our country better, that would make our communities better, and then to advocate for each person to get the right to vote. After 54 years of hard work, she actually died before we granted women the right to vote through the 19th Amendment. She was 86 years old when she made her most famous speech. And that's a speech when she had pneumonia, and there were no antibiotics in 1906. And she was making a speech in Baltimore where they were advocating for the constitutional amendment to give women the right to vote. And she said, I know I might not live long enough to see it. In fact, she probably knew she was dying. But with the cause of freedom, in the hands of those such as these, failure is impossible. Tonight we have these purses that have failure is impossible on them as an emblem. And if you look at the logo, it also says every woman deserves a purse of her own, that some of our supporters have made possible for us to give to the 11 award winners. It's not a fashion statement. If you wear this purse on your arm, it's a symbol of freedom. It's a symbol that you're taking on the responsibility of continuing to be a reformer. Because for all the progress that we've made, Susan B. Anthony said, we're always progressing. We still have a ways to go before every human being in this country has the opportunity to pursue life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness, education, to demonstrate to the world that they've brought gifts and talent, and so that we can receive those gifts and share them so we can be a better world. So Susan B. Anthony's challenge to us, and she said, you know, when I'm gone, I'll be talking to you from the grave, is to continue to do what you, Susan B. Anthony Award winners, have already done, what your families who have supported you have already done. She said, if every person would do the one thing that they have the power or the strength to do, no matter how small they think it might be, it would make all the difference in our great world. Thank you for being reformers. Thank you for your leadership and your gifts and your talent.
Thank you, Deborah. Thanks for your generosity. And I'd next like to call up Vice President Elliott, who is going to be presenting a very special award.
Not an award, but I'll talk about it.
All right.
Good evening, everybody. I've asked the team to adjust the program. I got a call from one of the elders in the African American community, Dr. David Anderson, who wanted me to acknowledge a young girl who passed away, the daughter of Frederick Douglass. If you saw the news, the mayor did a naming of the library after Frederick Douglass on South Avenue. And in light of that, he had asked me to just sort of acknowledge this young girl. Well, I said to him that I think it's appropriate for us to do it in this venue. But when I thought she was an adult, but when I went to do the research, she was a little girl and she died as a young girl. But I was able to find on the website a letter that Frederick Douglass had written to his 8-year-old, 9-year-old daughter. And I'd like to take just a few minutes to read this letter that Frederick Douglass actually wrote to his daughter. Dearest Annie, my youngest child, I can remember the first time you grasped my index finger. Fresh from the womb, your small voice cried loud as I held you in my arms. Annie, you were as beautiful as roses and daisies in a spring garden. Your voice spoke to me quietly in a language that I didn't understand. Inside my heart, I knew you wouldn't have to slave for freedom as much as I did. My youngest love, my youngest life, you remind me of the ocean. As I write you this letter, the waves rock the ship like your cradle rocked you when I was too busy with your 4 older siblings. I sit on deck and watch the waves. I think of your ways, soft and calm at times, rough and fast, but always a wonderful sight to see. Just last month when you were drawing a picture of your baby doll, I disturbed you, asking you to pick up your shoes. The tone of your voice was sweet even when you didn't want to be bothered. Why I would have done anything for you. I learned that from my own mother. She went through a 24-mile walk after work just to come to see her son, your father. She worked in the fields on another plantation while the other children and I stayed 12 miles away. She cared for me just as I care for you. I think of her long journey as I crossed the Atlantic Ocean once again, placing my life in danger, weeping that your earthly life has ended. How my heart wishes to walk into my residence to see the face of my Annie, those eyes like your mother's that sparkle in the moonlight, those pretty white teeth that shine in the dark, and that graceful smile that to which no other can compare. I know that inside my heart, everything happens for a reason. I'm so sorry that I could not have been in your presence to adore you with my love, to kiss your cheek as your soul passed to the next life. You must understand why I was away the day you died, 8 years old, only 8 years old. You won't know the name of John Brown or the meaning of the words abolition and justice, but these are some of the reasons I was away. John Brown's skin was white, but his soul was pure. His heart was set on one goal, abolishing slavery. He too is now dead. Our country wants me to join him. I know of his plot to attack Harper's Ferry, take over the weapons there, and wage war against slaveholders. I told no one about this plot, for that this country, which declares itself a defender of the pursuit of life, liberty, and happiness, accuses me of treason. I do not regret my silence about Brown's plot. I only regret its failure, his death, and most of all, my absence as you took your last breath. So now I journey again. The water, the source of life, gives me little comfort. I return to your 4 siblings and dear mother. I return to a country stuck in greed and evil. I also return with the hope of freedom for all. I pledge my life to remain in this country, to die fighting for freedom for all people, rather than to escape to another country. Your untimely departure tells me where I must remain. It reinforces my determination, my conviction that I will never be free until all my people are free. Thank you for this gift you give me on your leaving. Forgive my absence at your departure. All love always. Your father, Frederick A. Douglass. So that honors the memory of Annie Douglas. And I just want to lastly say, just to honor some of the women that I know on a national and local basis, either know personally or I've read about. Let me just start off with Fannie Lou Hamer, Shirley Chisholm, Sojourner Truth, Mary McLeod Bethune, Michelle Obama, Malia and Sasha Obama, Mayor Lovely Warren, Connie Mitchell, Lena Gant, Mildred Johnson. I just want to give honor to those women. Thank you.
All right, I'd like to invite Principal Andrekulich Diaz, principal from Rochester International Academy, who is going to introduce Purnima, see, am I getting this pronunciation? Satsankar? Thank you.
You're the star, not me. Okay. Tell her she's a star. Good evening, everyone. My students at the Rochester International Academy inspire me every single day. The Rochester International Academy is a program for newly arrived students to our country. Purnima inspires me every moment that I'm around her. She's been in our country for almost 3 years. She came here as a refugee from Nepal. Purnima is one of our student government leaders, a member of the Interact Club, and our student ambassador. She acts as an interpreter for new students that are coming in, and she tells her story of being in the refugee camp where you had to pay to go to school, walk miles to get there, and were beaten if you did anything wrong. Purnima is an amazing young woman and perseveres daily, but not as much as she did when she was in the refugee camp. She traveled here with her mother and her brother, who both suffer from PTSD. Purnima's community service is taking care of her mother and her brother. Purnima has a 3.8 GPA. She would stay in school every day if I let her. Perfect attendance, after school, Saturday school, summer school. Even as we were sitting back there, she was taking notes about Susan B. Anthony. Purnima has witnessed many horrific events, but she refuses to give up. In Purnima's culture, many girls get married at a very young age. So today, as we were talking about the award, I said, Purnima, will you get married soon? And Purnima told me, she said, Miss, I want to stand on my own 2 feet. I want to be someone. I want my dreams to come true before I marry. And I said, I think the spirit of Susan B. Anthony is talking through you right now. So I present to you my most amazing student, Purnima Sanstagar.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
I'm so happy to be here in front of you all, guys. I would like to thank Miss Andrikela for nominating me for this award, and I would like to thank the Board of Education for presenting me with this Susan B. Anthony Award. Susan B. Anthony for many rights for women and people. I face many struggles throughout my life, and I'm honored to be recognized in her honor. My name is Purnima Satsankar. I'm from Nepal. I speak Nepali. I'm so happy that I have been able to come to United States. I feel so lucky because I have opportunity to gain knowledge and make my dream comes true. I'm close to my dreams of becoming a social worker. In Nepal, it was so difficult and less chance for education, and I had no right. If we want to do something ourselves, we would have to wait for a long time to be able to achieve that goal. My goal is to help those people who are suffering from that condition that I face. In the refugee camp, there was given the option to come to United States, so I came with my mom and brother. I wait 1 year before making the 3 day trip. The straight. When I got here, I was told that I could attend school. This is when I came to RIA. I have been at Rochester International Academy for 3 years and will be graduate this June. We, we celebrate our individual at RIA and our culture, but we do it together. We speak our language while learning English. Our teacher assured us is building our considers and everything we need to be success. They teach us in a way that we understand. Susan B. Anthony said faith is the impossibles, and as I move on into college, I know that no matter what I face, Father is impossible, and I will be the woman that I want to be. And thank you very much for our this evening. I'm truly appreciated. Thank you so much.
All right, before I give you this award, I want to just let everyone know what's in here. This is a beautiful plaque. I just want to show off the first one so you know what everyone's receiving. It has a picture, and it's inscribed, it says, Purnima Sanskar, Rochester International Academy, Susan B. Anthony Award 2016. And in here, you have a purse. So, and a book. So, all of those things. Yes, you're welcome. Congratulations.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
And please forgive our quick departure. She has to go back home to her mom. Thank you.
All right, our next honoree is Amari Boone, and I'm going to ask Susan Hollister to come up here to introduce. Amari. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I'm honored to be here tonight to introduce one of the brightest stars we have at Vanguard Collegiate High School. Amari Boone is a senior who holds a 3.64 GPA and is ranked in the top 10 of her senior class. She is the class of 2016 event planner, works part-time at Wegmans, and participates in multiple community service projects and school-wide activities. Amari, along with 3 other students, co-wrote a grant through the Monroe County Youth Bureau earlier this year and received $1,000 to fund the second year of their Heart to Heart project. Through the sale of handmade love-themed artwork, the girls raised over $1,000 for the American Heart Association this year and $622 last year. Amari was voted in her most recent senior superlatives most likely to brighten up your day, as well as most likely to be your boss someday, which shows that she is both adored and inspired by her classmates, as well as the staff at Vanguard. We're so proud of her accomplishments and are excited to see where her future takes her. It is with great pleasure that I introduce to you Amari Boone.
All right, I'm going to next ask Asia Bukuro to come up, and Stephen McDonald from Rochester Early College High School. And I'm also aware of the time, so I'm going to ask that we kind of keep moving forward with comments. Thanks.
Good evening, everyone. I remember Asia when she was just a freshman. She used to come to my office to hang out and talk about life. She was excited about the future and loved to learn. She would discuss what college she would go to one day and how she would get her doctorate in psychology. She has always wanted to help people. She loves her work with children, whether she is volunteering in the kindergarten classrooms at school or working with children at summer camps through the University of Rochester. She is a role model student who has a 3.6 GPA and has accumulated more than 30 college credits by taking courses at Monroe Community College. She is a great role model for young people and has shown her peers through hard work and academic excellence how vital and necessary education truly is. Asia is now a young, vibrant, intelligent, and magnanimous woman. I'm proud of what she has accomplished, and I know that she will have many more nights like this to acknowledge her achievements in the future. But most importantly, I'm glad to call her my friend. Here is Asia Bakulu.
Congratulations. All right. I'm going to ask Alexandra Cruz to come up, along with Vicki Ramos and Eleanor Payton, to introduce her.
Good evening. On behalf of Alexandra Cruz, I'd love to accept the award. Unfortunately, this is who Alexandra is. She's always taking care of others and helping others, and Alexandra is in the top graduating of her class this year. But last year, Monroe High School had the highest volunteer hours of the Red Cross, which Alexandra is the president for, of all Monroe County. And this is my girl. And tonight she had committed to helping a family where the mother is going through back surgery. And even though I tried convincing her to come tonight, she's like, I can't miss. I have to help this family. Thank you so much, but this is the true dedication of our children. And I will be happy to take this to her. Thank you.
All right, I'm next going to ask Kalisa Gale to come up with Uma Mehta from Wilson Commencement Academy. Okay, we don't know where the principal is, so we will just congratulate you. Thank you for coming tonight. We're so proud of you. Okay. All right, so I'll next ask Gina Gonzalez to come up and Nakia Burrows. Okay. Do you want to say anything? That's fine. All right, thank you for coming. Congratulations. Nakia. Our next honoree is Brianni Hill. Is she here? Okay, we'll save that for Brianni. Is that someone out there who's saying, do you know Brianni? You just raised your hand? No, okay. We'll move on. Nyesha Jean. Yay.
I'm Cheryl Diodato. I'm her school counselor, and I've been fortunate to have Nyesha since she was a 9th grader at East High School. Nyesha Jean is a young woman who has exemplified Susan B. Anthony in her life journey. As a student at East High School, Nyesha has made incredible contributions to our community. She is in the top 10% of our graduating class and is a member of the Teaching and Learning Institute program. Nyesha has challenged herself academically by taking honors level and advanced placement classes. Nyesha is a role model for her peers, the young children she teaches at her internship, and the children she has mentored during her high school career. Nyesha strongly follows her inner voice with courage to help her maintain her focus on her educational goal of attending Buffalo State in the fall, majoring in social work. I admire her self-determination, dynamic spirit, and her value for education. Nyesha has developed into a self-confident young woman. She works hard to lead, encourage, and inspire her peers academically and personally. Naija is driven by a quote by Irma Bombeck, stating, "When I stand before God at the end of my life, I would hope that I would not have a single bit of talent left and could say I used everything God gave me." Naija states that she feels that her purpose in life is to help others in any way that she can and give her all 100% of the time. Through her TLI program, Naija has learned to be a leader for change, to encourage her peers and community to be the change. She has learned to lead when others do not have the courage, stand for what she believes in, even when she is the only one standing. Most of all, Naija realizes her passion in life is to help others and give back to her community. At East High School, we know that Naija, like Susan B. Anthony, will continue to be the beacon of hope and courage for all those she encounters. Congratulations.
Thank you, Naija. I'm going to call Cassandra Love Robinson up from Edison High School.
Hello, everyone. I am Kashana, school counselor at Edison. So happy to be nominating her. Kashana is a very bright young lady who excels academically and exhibits a positive attitude towards everything she does. She is well respected and held in high regards by both peers and teachers. She is in the top 10 of her class and is a National Honor Society member. Kashana has set some clear goals for herself, and she is well on her way to achieving those goals. In addition to her success academically, Kashana participates in extracurricular activities to provide her with opportunities to interact socially and broaden her experiences as a leader. She is the captain of her cheerleading team, the president of the senior class, and a Hillside Work Scholarship program member. In addition to these activities, Kashana also works as a cashier at Wegmans. Kashana has proven to be very responsible and mature. Kashana is also a positive role model for her peers and always inspiring and encouraging them to strive for excellence as well. Kashana has proven to be an enthusiastic learner with a lot of self-motivation and drive, while at the same time being humble enough to accept the wisdom of others. In addition to being a positive influence, she is also a positive contributor to her community. So far, Kashana has been accepted to the University of New Haven and Kaiser University, and I'm sure that there's more to come. It is with pleasure that I recommend Kashana for the Susan B. Anthony Leadership Award.
Next, we'll call up Adriana Streeter from School of the Arts.
Hello. We've nominated Adriana Streeter, and I have lovely things to say about her. I've had the pleasure of knowing her for the last 2 years as a student, and even had the pleasure of spending a weekend at Camp Corey with her. She's someone who is an exceptionally mature individual, and she's really made a choice to make a success of her life, and so orders her work ethic to make this a reality. She's bright, she's exceptionally curious about the world, and it's reflected in the way she just wants to seek out information on most any topic. She prides herself in doing her very best, puts the greatest effort into everything she does, and what particularly has always impressed me is the way she has stretched herself and I've watched her blossom so much in the last 2 years. She's an independent thinker. She has great confidence in her own skills, and I value the way she bases her actions on a wider worldview. She's someone that is very respected by both her peers and her faculty. She's obviously talented. She's imaginative. She is someone who is, I should say, also a music major. I can't leave that out. But very importantly, she's a kind, thoughtful, and a person full of energy and enthusiasm with everything she approaches. And very much so, she values and embodies the ideas put forth by Susan B. Anthony. She's very deserving of this.
And our last honoree is Alexis Whitfield from Charlotte.
Good evening. My name is Christopher Smith. I'm the principal of Charlotte High School, and I'd like to introduce you to Alexis Whitfield, Alexis Marie Whitfield. She actually doesn't like when I say her middle name. She's a graduating senior who exemplifies Susan B. Anthony because of her leadership, community service, and academic scholarship. She is a leader amongst her peers. She has participated in many extracurricular activities. She was the treasurer of Fredeka Club, team leader in RIT's SIFE program. She is a member of Ernst & Young's College Readiness Program, and she is our senior class treasurer and has led the fundraising program for the school. She volunteers 5 days a week at St. John's Nursing Home. She has volunteered at 17 School and also in Charlotte's school library. Despite some health issues during her freshman year that kept her from school often, she has become a strong student and works really hard and currently carries a 3.9 grade point average. So I'd just like to congratulate you, Alexis, and please keep reaching for the stars. Nice job.
Let's have a final round of applause for all the honorees. And many thanks to the principals, assistant principals, teachers, and counselors who inspired and guided all of these young women along the way. And the parents. Thank you, of course. I want to end with one quote. So take this to your heart. It's from Maya Angelou. A wise woman wishes to be no one's enemy. A wise woman refuses to be anyone's victim. Thank you.